Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. Today is October the 12th. I'm going to do your spiritual principle a day in a meditation. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation. And this is our Hood Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Let's go ahead and get into the meditation. Spiritual Principle a Day, October 12th. Practicality in action. It's not what we think about our recovery that matters. It's what we do. Living Clean, Chapter 1, Living Clean, Opening Essay. When we first come into recovery, we may think everyone in the room is lying. A member recalled thinking they can't possibly be that happy, and really, no one can stay clean for 30 years, let alone 30 days in a row. We may even tell ourselves, there is no way we can stop using and have a fulfilling life. Despite our internal monologue, we continue showing up to meetings and putting some clean time together. We take suggestions, pick up a commitment, get a sponsor, and begin working steps, all the while thinking this won't work for me. We do our best to ignore that devious little voice inside us. After all, what we have been doing up to this point hasn't really been working either. As we take these practical actions, the heaviness lifts from our heart. We experience moments of joy and freedom, clean. We realize that we have been doing all of the things we told ourselves were not possible. Now we have 6 months clean, and our lives are so much fuller than we thought they could be. When we share in meetings, we realize that we become those people who we thought were lying to us. One of the most practical things we do is to show up and tell the truth about our lives. When we no longer need to fabricate stories and justifications, it frees up a lot of mental energy. We share our victories, our process, and our mess as they are happening. While the disease still talks to us, nowadays our recovery also chimes in to remind us that we're right where we're supposed to be. Doing the footwork frees us to live in the present. We have a solid foundation and a network of connections in our recovery community. Our world has become fuller and more fulfilling. We have found a family in Narcotics Anonymous. We want more of these gifts, so we continue to put one foot in front of the other, doing the things that brought us to this point. I will take a practical approach to my recovery today. I'll thank the committee in my head for sharing and take positive actions that enhance my recovery and my life. Isn't that true how we discount ourselves? We discount our recovery. We discount, I don't want to say discount, but we just really don't think it's going to work for us. We look around and we see other people doing it and engaged, and sometimes they're getting together to have coffee and do certain things. And we think this is not who I am. This isn't me. Yeah, it's you. You're in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous for a reason, not because you don't think it's you, or not because you don't have plenty of proof that you need to recover, right? From the disease of addiction. We all had plenty of evidence that said, hey, you, you got a problem with this. You said you were going to stop using, and you stopped for 2 hours and you couldn't take the stress of the withdrawals. Hey, you said you were going to stop, and you did stop. But as soon as something happened and life hit you in the face, you went right back to your old using habits because you needed to quiet down that dis-ease within. Hey, you just stole from your mama again. You just told her that you needed money for rent and you actually needed money to get high. You haven't paid rent in 3 months. You're about to be evicted. Hey, you. And now, of course, I'm being a bit silly here, but the point is that we all have had evidence, plenty of evidence that we needed to stop using. And one of the biggest issues I'm thinking is happening here now that recreational use of marijuana has become like alcohol, right? You can go get alcohol, tobacco, you can go get coffee, you can go get whatever you want to change your energy, your perception of reality. You can go get whatever you want. You can go buy, packs, 6 packs of Monsters, or you can buy energy drinks. And I'm not targeting any of that stuff saying don't do it, because best believe if I want to have a cup of coffee, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. But I made up my mind that I'm not going to have coffee all day. I don't need to have coffee all day, nor do I want to. And I found some dandelion root that I really love. It gives me the same wellness and feels good to just have something warm on my throat in the morning as having coffee. Coffee actually doesn't wake me up. It doesn't stimulate me like that. I could have it late at night and go to bed 10 minutes later. It doesn't stimulate me like that. So don't get it twisted. Don't think that I'm saying whatever it is that's legal for us to use, that you should not do that. That's not where I'm headed. But what I am saying, it is amazing to me that 3 or 4 years ago, the same people that would consider it a relapse for them to smoke some weed are smoking it now every day, all day, and they don't see any correlation between where they were 3 years ago with it and where they are with it today. Three years ago, you wouldn't touch it, but now moving forward, it's legal and you touch it every day, all day. Right? So I'm saying that I need to be mindful of the way that my brain may be working, the way that I may be justifying my actions, because it's the thing to do now. It's okay. Cannabis shops on every corner. But 3 years ago, you had a problem with it and you really felt the difference. You felt like you were getting high. But today, you smoke it like you're smoking a cigarette and it's not a big deal to you. So just because the community, the policies and procedures are changing, because we went through this with alcohol, it too, I mean, in order to get it, it had to be bootleg. It was underground, right? Many wars and gang fights have happened over alcohol. And the ideal is that if you decriminalize it, right? If you decriminalize it, then people will break out in felonies a lot less. And that's true. I mean, when we talk about the unhoused, they've decriminalized being able to urinate in public. It's not sociably acceptable still, but look for it to start happening more, because we have more unhoused people that don't have public restrooms that they can just run to. So I'm just saying procedure and policy will change things. And as they change things, people begin to warm up to the ideal of it and establish some acceptance of it. And it is no different, actually. And when we're talking about the practicality in action, we'll look at a group of people and be in the same group. And we can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. We'll be in the rooms of recovery disqualifying ourselves because we're not like those people. But come to find out that if we just stop doing the disqualifying ourselves and the comparing ourselves and looking at the differences and look at all of the evidence that led us to the rooms, we will find that we're more alike than we're disalike. For one person, it could be their addiction to a certain drug. And for another person, it could be their addiction to something that is becoming sociably acceptable. But at the end of the day, what brought you here? I heard a gentleman sharing the other day on a meeting that I frequent, and it was so heart-wrenching. It was really, really touching, emotionally touching, had me in tears. And he said that he used to be, he used to feel like he didn't fit in because his drug of choice didn't involve needles, right? I knew exactly where he was coming from. So you somehow start to disqualify yourself from having the right to recover from your drug of choice, from your habit, because it's not as intense as society is saying it is. We all deserve the opportunity of recovery. We all deserve to be free. We all deserve to be able to interpret where we're at in a manner that will allow us to recover if the place we figure out where we're at is not where we want to be. That's heavy, right? That's a heavy discussion, but it's a discussion that we need to stop disqualifying ourselves, is the point. Stop looking at the differences. Stop justifying what we do use, knowing goodness well 3 years ago, or maybe even further of a time ago, we would not have been able to accept that as something we could use every day, right? I'm not talking about having a medical card. I'm not talking about that. You don't even need that anymore. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those that are abusing things that are legal. I'm not talking about needing it because of a medical condition. I'm talking about using it just because it's legal, and you cannot go a day without it. People talk about stop smoking cigarettes all the time. They stop but can't stay stopped. That's their thing. For someone else, it might, excuse me, for someone else, it might be sugar. Every person is different, and every person has a right to come into the rooms and find the similarities and recover. You recover from what you're recovering from, and realize that you have a right to be in the rooms. We're talking about the disease of addiction. We're not talking about a specific drug, your drug of choice, your gateway drug. We're talking about the disease of addiction. We're talking about the stuff that makes you pick it up. And when you start doing the work on why you pick certain drugs up over other drugs, when you start doing the work and figuring that out, you'll find that you're less accepting of picking up anything. I'm hoping that I'm making sense. I'm hoping that no one is upset or getting offended by what I'm saying, because it's not my intention. My intention is to make it really, really clear that when we first come into the program, we have a tendency to judge ourselves or disqualify ourselves out of the program. We like to make justifications for what we're doing, but not allow other people to have room to grow in the rooms of recovery and come to their own awareness. But if you stick and stay and you don't leave before the miracle happens, you will find that the changes that your higher power would have you to have will take place. I personally know people in the rooms that, medically speaking, they smoke marijuana or take it as an edible every day, and they use it for pain management. And as long as I've known them, they've done that. I'm not that doesn't bother me in any kind of way. That doesn't shake me. That doesn't make me think they're not clean. And I hope it doesn't you. It does not bother me in any kind of way. I know plenty of people that go to the Mother Fellowship, and they have been sober. I'm trying to tell you, they have been sober for 30 years or more. And they will never walk into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous because they personally will not stop smoking their weed or using their meth or whatever it is they want to use. As long as they don't touch alcohol, they feel fine. Okay. If that works for you, because being in that particular fellowship has a lot other allowances, long as you don't pick up the drink, right? I know plenty of people that make exceptions for whatever it is they need to do. I just want to make sure that whatever we're justifying, that is practical and it's practicality in action. Because if it's practical, it's spiritual. And if you know that it's not, and you're having an issue with some changes, then just ask the God of your own understanding to help you make the changes. I really believe that your higher power is enough for you. I really do. I hope that this has been helpful. We do the footwork to free ourselves in our present lives. We set a solid foundation and develop networking connections in our recovery community, because that helps us to be accountable to someone and not always having to live within our own thought processes, not having input from other people. And a lot of times it's a tactic to make sure that the committee in our heads is running things and we don't expose it to other people, because we don't want other people to be able to speak into our lives in a way that can help us. But if I can stay clean, you can stay clean. If I can do it, you can do it. The difference between those that stop but can't stay stopped and those that stop and never pick it back up is that there just happened to be a committee at that point in time in their lives that had the more powerful voice than their higher power. And that can happen at any point in time. If you don't have a check and balance system in place, that committee in our heads can take over. Get connected to the people in the fellowship so that the people in the fellowship can get to know you and you can get to know them, and that there can be a check and balance system that you enjoy, not one that feels authoritative or condescending in any kind of way, but one that is a give and take, where you enjoy individuals and they enjoy you, and they can look at you and know you and hear your voice on the phone and say, man, I know you having a hard day today. Let's go get some coffee. Let's go get lunch. Or that you can do that for someone else. Having a beautiful network here is something that you will enjoy. My name is Mighty Stream. I hope that practicality in action has been a spiritual principle that you've been able to use, but that you will consider how you can use it even more in your recovery. Don't be afraid to make changes. Don't be afraid to make changes, even if it's not the societal norm. Do not be afraid to live your best life on purpose. I'll be talking to you tomorrow.